Let's take you back to the developments at COP28 now.
In the direction that this takes, the UNFCCC Secretariat produced a synthesis report a few weeks ago, which was the culmination of 180 submissions from parties, over 40 submissions from non-state actors. And all of the elements that set out basically provide, one, a representative of where we are, and we know already that there is a massive ambition and implementation gap. We're nowhere near where we need to be, but it also highlighted areas of progress, areas of best practice, but also outlined all of the elements, the tools that parties can draw upon here in Dubai, that depending on the levels of ambition that they show, those that want to see, when we talk about a strong outcome of the GST, it has to inform the next round of NDCs and all of the elements that's contained in a nationally determined contribution. So there are discussions amongst parties and different views as to how prescriptive or how non-prescriptive the GST should be. So that's one area that will be up for debate over these coming days. The other is how forward-looking the GST should be, and the other view is how backward-looking it should be. And this speaks to all of the elements that are covered under the GST, whether that's finance, whether it's adaptation, mitigation, loss and damage. What we have found, certainly from the synthesis report, is that there is an imbalance between mitigation contributions and views as to how the mitigation agenda progresses versus adaptation. But within the scope of negotiations between now and the 12th, you have the different, if you like, work streams. So the global goal and adaptation, there is an opportunity for parties to still put forward positions in terms of what the final product of the global goal on adaptation will be, and then how that feeds up into the GST. And the same for the mitigation work program. So the GST will be the overarching deliverable for this COP, which will contain every single element that would traditionally be under negotiation. The question is whether parties take a top-down approach, looking at where this global stocktake, which is supposed to be that course-correcting provision within the Paris Agreement, or whether it'll be a bottom-up approach from a baseline of all of those negotiating tracks.
Ambassador?
Yeah, thank you. When we started at the beginning of this year, there was like a huge gulf between what people thought the global stocktake should be about. From some people who just wanted one line to those who wanted like a full book, a binder of what the global stocktake should say. And over the course of this year, we have really managed to bring the parties together. I think that Simon has described very well the scope of what the global stocktake is about. We have a clearer picture of what we're trying to achieve. But we, as a COP president, have been saying from the very beginning that we're focused on that 1.5 and how we keep that within reach, and how we need to use this moment to course correct, because we know fundamentally that we're not on track to achieving it. So how is this global stocktake not just going to deliver some nice words on paper, as Dr. Sultan just said, but real world impact that gets us back on track, that achieves our 1.5 degree goals? And remember, it focuses the mind. Our COP is about the next 7 years. It's about what we can do today to get us to those Paris goals of 2030. Because we can't claim that great success that we claim today from Paris if we can't show how that agreement can deliver. And if we can't achieve our 2030 goals, how are we going to achieve our 2050 goals? So it's a really critical moment in this process that we deliver the trust, we deliver the ambition, and we deliver the path that gets us there. And we can only do that by bringing everybody together and delivering a really ambitious outcome.
The lady in the green dress here, first row.
Thank you so much. It's Fifi Peters from CNBC Africa. Dr. Steele, to you.
And that is the Q&A session there that is taking place at COP28. And Simon Stell, UN Climate Change Executive Secretary, responding to one of the questions by our international news editor, Sophie Mukwena, who was asking about the commitment when it comes to some of these role players, the key role players, that is, into making sure that some of the countries that would have been impacted, actually things, are followed through in that particular regard. This Q&A continues, and we'll continue to monitor it and bring you developments as soon as they happen. Let's take you to this now. The countries have adopted a framework for the implementation of the Loss and Damage Fund. This will go a long way towards addressing the impact of climate change. Now, countries will focus on global stocktake with the aim of ensuring that the commitments made at the previous meetings are honoured. Let's take you live there now.
For your leadership. Thank you, Simon, for your partnership. And to all present today and watching online, thank you for your commitment, for hoping towards what can be achieved, and your commitment to supporting us in working towards that. Allow me to also issue you a warm welcome to the United Arab Emirates and to Dubai. We are thrilled to have you all here, to have your passion, to have your excitement together with us to deliver what we hope will be a truly monumental COP. Let me perhaps say a little bit about my role as lead negotiator. One of the most fulfilling parts of that is to lead a team of young Emiratis, two-thirds of which are women, two-thirds of which are youth, who are with diverse backgrounds coming from engineering, legal, civil servant backgrounds, but all committed to multilateralism, to facilitating a strong outcome, to working with parties and defining success, working towards that, and working towards delivery to meet the gap that we have to by 2030. They're also emerging leaders in the global fight against climate change, and I'm very proud of having built that capacity with all colleagues and under the leadership, of course, of their excellencies and His Excellency Adnan as well, who you all know well too, and excited to see where they go from here in working with the world in delivering all of this. Of course, we'll be working with parties and this week supporting the SB chairs in making progress across the technical negotiations. I would like to highlight one that's very close to my heart, having co-chaired an early contact group on this, and this is the global stocktake. I truly believe that this is an opportunity for a new era of climate action. And I think His Excellency Dr. Sultan expects no less. But as he said, we also have heard from parties a clear political will to make the most of this opportunity, to build on it so that we can slash emissions, we can build resilience, and we can ensure support for developing countries in this transition. His Excellency Majid has elaborated how we're going to use the next 2 weeks on that very well. But perhaps I'll speak a little bit about what we have to do on the technical side. With more than 160 items on the agenda, it was very critical for us to get this agenda adopted fast. And so there were over 40 consultations in the last month with all regional groups and parties to be able to get here. And we're very grateful for the flexibility shown by all parties, working closely with His Excellency Adnan, our head of delegation, in order to get to a point where we have a timely adoption. The other critical news item today is, of course, the capitalization, not just operationalization, of the Loss and Damage Fund and funding arrangements. Having had the honor of serving on the Transitional Committee on behalf of the incoming presidency, I could tell you that that was a group of people that were determined to see how we could ensure that this process demonstrates that multilateralism works, that when parties come together, and after 30 years of arguing of the definition of loss and damage, let alone how it is that we would address it, that when we've said that we're going to operationalize this thing in 1 year, that we can do that. And we've also seen the willingness today that I think exceeded expectations in many ways of ensuring that this is not an empty bank account. That was a challenge that Dr. Salan set to parties back in June, I believe, and that has really, really come through. So very encouraged by that and hopeful that this translates into the negotiations over the next couple of weeks. Very keen to build on the momentum, to support the subsidiary body chairs as much as we can this week. It's my hope that they can get pretty much all of the work out of the way and we can celebrate together next week. But let's see what we can do. And let's deliver this COP together. Everyone has a role to play, and the time for delivery is now. So we look forward to your questions, of course, but really to your important role in bringing the story of what we do here to the world and ensuring that we're empowering everyone to be a part of this new era for global climate action. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is Hannah Al-Hashimi, COP28's head negotiator. And this is day one of the conference, the world's most important climate meeting taking place in Dubai. And of course, this is, as you know, a lot of talk still about the fund, the loss and damage fund. And we do understand that there is a framework that has been adopted in that particular regard. And also, of course, this is one of those a lot of people have been talking about in terms of what happens then going forward to making sure that some of these promises that are made at each and every single conference are then realized. We'll continue to bring you developments on that one as soon as as long as it continues. And our international news editor, Sophie Mokoena, is also there watching very closely what's happening.